everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of our Hospitality Manifesto podcast. Rob, I think today's going to be a little bit of a funner one. Anyway, I think it's a rant session. What is the stuff that just, to quote Peter Griffin, it really grinds my gears, that kind of thing, right? So.
Yeah, I know that we always talk about it, that we say, look, when we're doing the podcast, we want to keep things positive. When we want to, I always want to try and portray the hospitality industry in the very best light and talk about all the great people. But, sometimes you just want to strangle some of these people, like I just do not understand those people that have so much passion for the industry and everything else, and then sometimes what we end up getting out of it. So, you were just in Toronto on business. Tell me about Toronto. Tell me about something that happened to you there.
Yeah, I mean, I eat out a lot. Couple of decent experiences. Where was I staying? I stayed at the Marriott, which so the service there, the restaurant there, was pretty good. The only thing that did annoy me is their draft list was out of date. So they happened to have a craft brew company called Henderson Brewing Company, and I was like, it was meant to be.
That's right on point.
Right, and then they had
it's probably some kind of a sour.
Exactly. It was like it was meant to be. But they had a stout. I'm like, oh, I'll have this stout. Like, oh, we don't have that one. I'm like, well, okay, fair. Anyway, thought it wasn't a huge thing, but it was still like, it's a Marriott. Can you not keep your menu up to date? So, a couple other ones, just a couple of casual places that were fine. Then another one where you go in, you talk, just staff that are, just disinterested, right? Like, and we talk a lot about sort of your branding, your hospitality culture in your place, and it's like welcoming people into your home. All right, is sort of what I think the mentality should be. So walked into a smaller place. This was I was down in Windsor. Yeah, and they just like, oh, I'm sorry I bothered you by walking into the restaurant. Can we get a table for two? Right, that sort of thing. So so that leads me to that. Do I got to tip these people for this? Right? Like they're expecting, a lot of machines now, like it's starting at 18-20%, right? Like really? I'm like, yes, I understand that's the culture, but should it be?
Let's talk about tipping, because every once in a while, and usually online, somebody brings up the fact that, hey, why can't industry pay a living wage? Why can't we do this? And should we be tipping? I want to put the politics of that aside and just say, man, like with the price now, like to go for lunch for $60 or $70 for lunch. Okay, like I'm not drinking, but for a sandwich and a beverage, you're into the 40. You could, because even a club sandwich could be $24 now. And after taxes and everything else like that. And then once you put a tip in there, and so like sometimes you got to remember, say, look, tip is optional for me. And if I decide I want to save some money, guess what? I'm doing it. Like I can take it out of there. So more so than ever, isn't the onus on the staff to earn that tip? Like work, make it, like do it.
Well, I think it used to be, right? But I think, nowadays, at least my perception, and maybe it's because I'm getting old. I think now people just assume the tip is automatic, and where's my 20%? Like where's my 18%? That sort of thing. Like you didn't do anything, right?
Well, and I'm sympathetic because you and I, we come from the industry, and I appreciate that you're tipping out, right? Because if I don't tip you, then this table costs you money, right? Because you got to tip 5, 6, 7% out to the house, and it gets divvied up into the hostess in the kitchen and whatever. But man, as a customer, that is not my responsibility. A tip is gratuitous, which means that if I didn't feel like you did the basic minimum, then you know what? Why am I tipping you? The basic minimum is the same thing. I go into a liquor store. Right, I go through, I shop around, I pick up a bottle of wine, I take it, and the guy at the front desk wants, the machine's doing the asking. It's not him, right? It's not him, but the machine is asking on his behalf. Would you care to tip me?
Yeah. For the liquor store guy. Yeah. So it's tip creep, right? It's
That's
whether
good.
it's
I like that term.
tip creep, right? So whether it's the liquor store guy or your delivery guy or the sandwich maker at a QSR place or whatever, right? I mean, we're in the past, or even your barista at Starbucks or wherever, right? Or Timmy's or wherever you're going.
Hey, look, I
Uh,
was comfortable with the mug, and hey, if you had a little change to throw a quart, like I was comfortable with that. But now that everything's gone to tap and there's just less cash around, that that it's up. I was coaching a lady at KFC through how not to give a tip because you have to say because it says do you want to tip by percentage or by cash? It doesn't say do you want to not tip. It says how do you want to tip? And so then I said, well, you push cash and then zero. But it's like you know the technology is not it's not for everybody. Like some people are. I mean, I consider myself a low adapter to some of this stuff, but really, you know, what what is your personal rule for when you tip and when you don't?
you know what? I don't know that I have a philosophy. I mean, I will probably, and I'm bitching about it, and I'll bitch about it, but I'll probably just default to tipping, right? Just because it's and then I can complain about it, right? But I mean, some of the jobs are, they're not the highest paying, and like you want to be able to help out, and it says, can you tip? And okay, I'll do 10%, or I'll do $2, or whatever it happens to be. When I get my, go get my hair cut, tip the barber and stuff. But that's you're getting a service provided,
Well,
so
because he knows you're coming back. So like if you don't tip him next time you come in, you get paid. Like that's just insurance. That ain't a gratuity.
exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think I have a hard and fast sort of rule whether I tip or not. But I'll certainly like if we're out for dinner and we get exceptional service, right? Certainly happy to tip over and above, right? Or if we've had doesn't happen very, very often, but I've even gone out of my way to find the server on the way out of the restaurant and say, if I happen to have cash on me, like slip them something, I say, I know you need to tip out, but you keep this for you, right? And do something extra. Like I think in my all my years, I've probably done that maybe 2 or 3 times, right? But I think but that again, I think that's what tipping's for, right? For someone who's kind of gone over and above, right? Not just the bare basics, right? So
I tell you, I was out with my buddy Richard, and we were talking about this, and I think the rule is that if I'm standing when I order or when I get my food, there's no tip, right? If I'm on my feet, then you know what? I'm sorry, that there's not a tip there. Um, if because there's just in some of that quick service, there just isn't an opportunity to go above and beyond. I mean, but I think for me in the restaurant, if somebody wanted more than 18%, then there has to be a recommendation involved that I loved. There has to be some kind of personalization to the service, and there has to be an impact. Like you made my experience just that much better
yeah, I
for me.
can't wait. Like I can't wait to come back here.
And I don't consider myself ungenerous when it comes to tipping. I'm from the industry, like I'm there, but I'm also not afraid to say, you know what? No, you were terrible. You were terrible, and you didn't. What's worse is you're terrible and you didn't know it. And I'm not tipping you for that. And it's not my job to tell you you're terrible or to coach you. So guess what? This is how I tell you that you're not very good. Is you don't get a tip, or you get 10% because I know you're going to tip that out, and so the guys in the back shouldn't lose on that. But that's me telling you that you did not do what I you didn't even meet my if you met my expectations 18%, no problem. But that's it. But it's that attitude that they've earned it just before you walked in the door, and that you owe it to them that I got a problem with. And that's the same problem I have with delivery drivers. They're asking me to tip on the app, and I haven't even received the service yet. Like, how do at least I think Uber has updated that to say would you like to offer a tip after the fact? Right? Which, kudos to Uber because I think it's gratuitous and it's supposed to be after the fact. But, I've had delivery drivers, drop off, and because there wasn't a tip on it, you can see them on the camera, treating your food badly, and
Well,
because
that's it,
there wasn't a
right?
tip there.
And yeah, like on the Skip the Dishes app, yeah, you're prompted to tip your driver, before you've even placed the order, right? So yeah, I don't know how it works in the back end if the driver sees that ahead of time. So if he's got more than one delivery and if I tip him more, he's going to bring mine first. I don't know. I don't know if how that works or not. But I mean, the apps. I mean, they're that's another thing to bitch about. I remember when they first started coming out. It was a friend of ours had a restaurant, and I'll leave the name out on the North Shore, but he was getting phone calls about where's my delivery? Where's my delivery? Like what do you? And like, he's like, what are you talking about? We don't do takeout, right? No, I placed an order for delivery. Like
No kidding.
with who? And yeah, one of the apps that was just started getting going, and they were adding restaurants to their platform, finding the menu online and adding the menu, right, and then taking these orders and then either calling in or sending them in, right. And these restaurants never signed up for this, didn't weren't prepped for it, don't do takeout, weren't set up for takeout. I mean, okay, this is you know 12, 15 years ago now, probably when this happened, but still, like,
But
screw
I
you,
had I had I, I
right?
had a similar experience with when I was running Mount McQueen's when a website that is supposed to help you hire staff and get people interested in working for you. Um, People started showing up looking for saying, "Oh, you're hiring, and here's this," and like I don't have an ad up. I'm not like I'm not. But then the guy calls, or I called them and said, "Hey, I've got guys coming in saying that you've posted that we're hiring, and we're not. I didn't sign up." He said, "No, we just wanted to prove to you how effective our website is, and look at all the people coming in to apply." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like you're making me look like an ass because I don't have a job. These people are coming in with the expectation that they'll have an opportunity, and there isn't one." And so I was really put out, but like they weren't even, and they weren't, and they I don't know if I would have lost them as customers, but like especially if they were qualified, they had to get said, well, why wouldn't you even interview me? Well, because I don't have a job. Like,
Yeah, like super
but
perform. Yeah, that's yeah.
but
That
like
would
who would want to work? Like, I would never want to work with a partner like that, like a website like that treated a potential staff member that rudely, and then of course and then post. Like that's not true. I mean, I suppose there's an argument there. I guess if we were in the states, you could sue them because that's a lie. It's slander, right? But um, talk about websites and social media and those kinds of stuff. Where are you with food influencers? Like, are you paying attention to some of the stuff you see online? Is Instagram really making that much of a life impact to you about where you eat and how you eat?
no. Um,
In a short version, Robin, no.
I tell what's I'm trying to be delicate. Um, like there's my food. Like, gonna go get the lighting correct. Like, just eat it. Like, stop taking like I don't want. Can you imagine like 30 years ago? You're like, hey, in the future, we're going to send pictures of our lunch to each other. People would look at you like you're out of your mind. Like, what? Why? Why would you do that? Right? And it's yeah. I mean, so yeah, the food, the influencer cult. I have a whole thing about the influencer culture. I'm like, I mean, I'm sure these people work hard, and creating content is very difficult. Um, but not everybody is an influencer, nor should everybody be an influencer. For God's
Do we
sake.
need them? Do we need influencers? Is this the new marketing? And my issue is that they're influencers, but like you're talking about my restaurant, I didn't pay you, so I have no like you can easily talk shit about me, and it's all false.
Yeah, and that's it, right? And I just, maybe we're old, and maybe it's the Gen Zs, like our kids will look at us like you guys don't know what you're talking about. and yeah, there is a marketing uh, angle there, right? And positioning yourself on social media. But I think you have to be careful about controlling your brand on online. And are you going to just let you know sort of Joe Blow influencer come in and start talking about or marketing your restaurant? Now, obviously, you can't stop them if they're doing a legitimate restaurant review or something like that. But do you necessarily need to work with a third party influencer to have success? I don't think so. Right? And you get these people coming in, oh, I've got all these followers, and where's my free food? Like, no, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, that doesn't fly. Like and I've seen that. I've been at a little diner where somebody came in saying, "Hey, I'm an influencer. I've got 2,000 followers, and if you give me a free sandwich, I'll talk to people about it." I'm like,
Yeah,
tour. Yes, so
two
just
thousand followers, five of them are real, and the other, 1,900, 90 or 95 are bots. Like that's the thing. How do you, but how do you, like for me too, like how do you quantify, like an ROI on that, right? I mean, is that kind of marketing? I mean, obviously,
well, I know next week when we do this, I've got a guy who is a consummate restaurateur that uses a lot of social media. So we're gonna have him on in one of our next episodes. So we look forward to meeting Ray. But what about the argument that every customer is a reviewer? It used to be that you have a bad experience, you tell 10 people. If you have a good experience, you tell maybe three. But that was the extent of it. And now, because people can get paid, they get something out of telling their story, right? Be it views, right? Because that's their equity. And you have to have a story to tell. So they make a story.
well, it's even that, even, not even on, strictly social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or what have you, but even like the Google reviews are super important now. And I remember when we were still running the restaurant, it was, like there was back then, it was just with the start, like Yelp reviews were starting and this sort of stuff. And it was like, who are these people? Like these people didn't even come in the restaurant. But I think the Google reviews are important because I do that now when I look up on Google Maps and go, okay, well, this place has, 4.5 stars. That's probably pretty good. But I think for a small operator, in order to set themselves apart, I mean, if you can get, ranked higher on your Google reviews, that's something you can control. And I think that's important. When I was running Pearl down in White Rock, what we would do, we had a program for a short while where we packaged up little bags of like cookies, little chocolate chip cookies with like a card on it. And when people were leaving, say, "Hey, thanks very much for coming. Here's this little." And the idea being, people bring it home, put it on the dining room table, and they go, "Oh yeah, I'll do a Google review for Pearl." Just saying, "Hey, we're a small restaurant, small operator. Leaving us a review would really help out and helps us stand out from the big chains and that kind of thing, right?" And so we would give them a little, a little take home treat, to do that. So I think that's, for smaller operators for sure. Your Google review rankings are super important, right? So, but I think that's separate from, the influencers on Insta and TikTok and whatever else there is out there.
But can that now? Okay, so now you got the Karen, okay, who says, there wasn't enough carrots in my slaw, and if you don't give me my meal for free, I'm gonna write you a bad review. Like, where are you? Like, I'm sorry, that's like there's nothing. Like, oh my God, like like, isn't it now? Do you feel like they got you by the? I want to say throat, but I mean, the other thing.
And to be fair, it's the Karen or Kevin, right? You know, right? We don't need to be gender specific. Although there is a funny meme I saw, it's a while ago now. It's a picture of sort of five women who appear to be in their 50s or older, all with the short bob haircuts, right? And the waiter walks up to them and says, "Yeah, good afternoon, ladies. Can I get you anything to start with, or shall you ask for the manager right now?" that sort of thing, right? So, coffee, tea, or the manager. So that's a stereotype, obviously, but
Okay, you're not going to dig yourself out of that one, Steve-O. So,
sometimes there's a nugget of truth to those anyway.
but what about that? What about the inherent threat to saying, I know that my Google review, if I lambaste you online, and so they're threatening you. They're saying to you, "Look, I want a discount. I want free dessert. I want whatever, or I'm gonna fuck with your business." Like,
you
is
know,
that
I
is that fair? I mean,
no, it's not fair, right? But I think so there's going to be people that suck all the time, right? It just so happens these now they can threaten to give you a bad review, right? But the idea being if somebody's come into your restaurant and had a good and enjoyable time, right? Then they shouldn't have a reason to basically put a gun to your head for something for free,
right?
right? So, I mean, that's probably a bit of an exaggeration to somebody doing that. I don't know if I've ever heard of that happening, but that said, I mean, people can certainly do fake reviews, right?
Yeah.
For clicks, and where and you see that online a lot, where there's stories where restaurants are like, I'm getting review bombed for no reason for
Well,
some.
and I always used to get really suspicious when you'd get a bad review and it's at gmail.com or at hotmail.com, because you can, like, they're not real names. You can make up as many of those as you want. You can have 22 Gmail accounts, right? And then go after it. I knew a lady, and that was her job. Like, she did restaurant reviews online, good, bad, and ugly. Like, if she worked for you, then you could say to her, who's your competition? She would bomb those, and she'd say good things about you. And she controlled 30 or 40 Gmail accounts. Now, she was professional; it was a paid service. But oh my God, like, it's that threat of, and I'm not saying that somebody that has a complaint or has a concern that they shouldn't be dealt with great. Like, you need to be restaurateurs and service people. They need to be great at working with a complaint or if somebody's upset. But it's that inherent threat that you're already not paying for this meal. What am I? I'm supposed to give you? I'm supposed to give you a free meal and $100 gift certificate to come back next time. Like,
No, I think social media, in general, has made someone who's a bad customer, or who is going to be a bad customer. I think that has certainly made those people worse. Yeah, because they've got their phone, they've got their camera, they're out recording, and I'm going to name and shame you, and I'm going to put this online, and you're going to be out of business. Like, really? Because there was a hair in your salmon? Like, that sort of thing, right? And yeah, so I agree. I think so has social media made bad customers worse? For sure. That said, I think social media has made a lot of people worse. Right? I'd be more than happy to roll back the clock and someone go find Mark Zuckerberg in his Harvard hotel room or his Harvard dorm room, and make sure that algorithm didn't work the first time around.
well, get them interested in women or something. Then that all of a sudden it takes you off the track. That's
Exactly, right.
that's how
So
most of my friends failed out of university.
I think we would all be better off if we didn't have the anti-social media. But that's a different rant for a different right. But and yeah, I don't know. Giving out freebies and stuff because someone's got to follow followers. Yeah, I don't see that you get a return on your investment for that at all. So.
Well, I know that when we had the dining room, we used to train our hostesses and managers to who the food writers were. So, like, if I'll use Mia Stansberry, right? If you saw Mia coming in the door, like, whoomp, we were on that because yeah, you know what I mean. And so if the food writer for the province, the Sun, or one of those people that were coming in, and it more often than not was an unannounced visit. We train people for that. Can you do that now? Like you said, look, if you see somebody taking pictures of their food, like that is a prompt to really be on top of the service, because if they're taking a picture of food, they're going to say something online, so you better be ready.
Problem is, well, so many people take pictures of your food, right? That's the thing. But I mean, back in the day, there's the restaurant reviewers. I mean, especially the really respected ones. I mean, you had a hard, you like it was hard to know who they were, right? Half the time you couldn't even find a photo of them. So um, some of the more local papers was a little bit easier to do that, but yeah, no, it's a challenge for restaurateurs nowadays. The whole online, your own online presence, and then how much how do you even manage it, right? Do you have to have your own social media manager, like because it's a beast, right? It requires content and new content all the time, right?
Well, and
So,
that's just not true, just like for Instagram, which wants the videos, but even just combating the subpar reviews that you want to try and knock off, like just by percentage. We know that the certain percentage of people that come and visit your establishment, they're not going to be happy, right? And it's not a mesh, you know what I mean? Like it has to work. And so you know what? Yeah, it's just I'm sorry, but you're not my customer, and it didn't work. Not that anybody did anything wrong, but if they're post a review online, you want to try and you know and push that down. But it's one of those things that it's getting harder and harder, and it makes me worried for the industry because so many of the restaurants still don't get the basic stuff right. I mean, the thing that we're talking about is training a staff member to look for those cues to say this is a food influencer. And how are you going to do that when the menus aren't clean and you can't get the parking lot sorted out or the bathrooms or some of these things that should be basic, and now we're talking about service. And I would say that's pretty advanced server training if we're talking about that your restaurant has come to a point where you are really working with your staff to understand food influencers and men and people posting online and have an active plan. And I'm not saying you shouldn't because I think you should, but when you can't keep toilet paper in the bathrooms, you're like, what do you? How backwards is this?
oh, for sure. Well, and so I think for random reviews, and it's maybe a good segue into just something else. For one thing people will complain about on their restaurant reviews is the cost. There wasn't value for money. Right? It was too expensive for what I got. Right? And I think I don't think the general public has an understanding. Like, because frankly, that burger that you paid $25 for, you probably should have paid 30, right? For all the overhead and the slim margin that restaurant is making. If that restaurant really wanted to try and stay afloat long term, they should probably charge them more, but they can't because the perception is that's not good value for money, right? So I mean, what do you think customers understand restaurant pricing and what's actually involved?
I think there's been a lot online encouraging, like breaking it down for people. But my buddy Morgan, okay, he sends me a picture the other day of 2 loaves of bread that he made. And I'm like, what in the hell? And he's like, well, I was coming home from work the other day, and his wife sends him a text and says, hey, can you pick up a loaf of bread? So he says, sure. But the only place, and he's walking, the only place close is a Capers or some, it's a higher end, but still he goes in and grabs 2 loaves of bread and it's $20, and he just loses his mind.
Jesus, was that whole foods, whole paycheck?
Something like that. But you know what I mean? And he just says, you know what? That's it. I'm not buying bread for the rest of the year. And because bread isn't tough. Like it's technique. It's not expensive to do. It's just technique. So and you know, it's the interwebs. He can figure it out. And if he's got the time, he says, yeah, it wasn't long. He still worked a full day. It's not like it took him all day in the kitchen to make 2 loaves of bread. It took him 20 minutes. Done. But he just said, that's it. I'm not buying bread again. Now, I'm not that guy, and I'm certainly not going to stop going to restaurants. But I have to understand the value behind it, and that yeah, certainly if some people walk out of your place going, oh my god, like the first time I was out and had bottled water at a restaurant, and walked out of there, and we had more than one. And you go, oh my god, that was the most expensive meal I ever had, and it was bottled water, not.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. But I think right, restaurateurs, I think they're hesitant to raise price. I mean, I know even when we put prices for draft beer up like 20 cents, like we, you know, wrestled with that because what are the regulars going to think? What are this? What's going to happen? Like, I'm super duper concerned about it. Not thinking about like what's the actual bottom line I mean, thinking about the bottom line, but like I think we're more concerned about the impact on the customers and not necessarily thinking about what the positive impact would be on the bottom line. I think restaurateurs are hesitant to charge what they actually should be, and I think the public perception of how much your restaurant meal should actually cost you is wrong.
Well, I mean,
When you add in,
I'm debating it for debate's sake. I know that you're right, although paying more than $10 for a pint of Guinness just pisses me off. But I know the numbers, and the numbers are is they are still not meeting margin. Now they're yes, there's profit built in there, but it's paying for everything else. And now the truth is that they have to actually hedge on what they or they have to overcharge on some of their other less costly beers, like their house lager or whatever, because they got to try and make it up for what sells in the Guinness. And so, I mean, part of that is just restaurant math, but it's I know it's the truth, but it's the intangibles. If the things that don't cost you anymore, like the person, if that person, the staff and the service I'm receiving does not cost them anymore per visit, then then why then there's the missed value perception. And I think it comes down to service and the cleanliness, and like you're paying people to be there. Where is the accountability? Why aren't they doing their jobs?
yeah. No, but I think what the customer isn't factoring into the math in their head when they get that plate of food. They're going, how is that, $25? But what they're not seeing is all those other hidden costs that the restaurant has to absorb. So if you're, let's work backwards. If you're paying by credit card, right? Well, the restaurant is paying the credit card provider a fee for you to use their credit card, and it can be anywhere from like 2 to 4.5%, depending on that credit card, right?
Plus a fee for every time it goes through. Yeah, you bet.
Exactly. You made a reservation online using OpenTable or some other platform. Oh, the restaurant's paying a fee for that convenience for you to do that as well, right? So, and then as a restaurant got social media, well, yeah, they've probably they got to have someone creating that content and managing that content. So there's costs there, right? I mean, then we haven't even talked about the labor costs of what it costs to actually have the bodies in there to give you that service that you're expecting, right? And then food costs and bar costs and all that, which are constantly increasing. And now there could be tariffs on stuff. Like I don't know how restaurants, if there's countervailing tariffs on stuff coming up from the states at some point, like how do you pass on a 25% increase on your California Reds, right? Yeah, you just have to. I
Well, if
think
the
I
customer
think
wants it and they're willing to pay for it, then there it is. But you know what I mean? Like I think most people will have to just get away from that.
yeah, I think the restaurant is or the industry could do a better job of educating the customer sometimes on what it actually costs to keep a restaurant open, to keep the doors open, right? And then it's not just the plate of food that shows up in front of your face.
I couldn't agree more. And let's close this with, the adage where it says the customer is always right, but the
Eh.
well, but that's not the whole quote. The whole quote is the customer's always right about taste. Right, and I've said this before. If I serve you a salmon dinner and it doesn't meet your taste and you don't like it, there is nothing I can say or do that's going to fix it. Like it's going to make it taste good. And all of a sudden, you go, oh well, it was supposed to be medium rare. I get it now, and now I love it.
Yeah, well, yeah, what I remember, I had a table. This is upstairs in the Queens, like lose their minds on me because what temperature did we serve the salmon at?
Medium, yeah, medium well.
Right, so it was still properly cooked, and salmon's pink, obviously, but it's not cooked all the way through because it's not supposed to be, right? But I had them like, you're trying to give us salmonella, you're trying to poison us, you are like, whoa. Okay. I'm happy to go get it cooked a little bit more, but and at that point, it wasn't like I'm not even going to work arguing. Like that's how it comes. Like that is cooked correctly. Every other piece of salmon you've had in your life has been overcooked, right? This one's right. So, but yeah, I mean, that time was just, yeah, no problem. We'll just go get that cooked a little bit more for you. Happy to do it. Generally speaking, that's how we serve it, but happy to accommodate. No, you're not going to get salmonella, right? Have you heard of sashimi? Like, you'll be fine. But it's there's again the guest not necessarily understanding, and then that customer was definitely wrong.
Well, and like I said, I think that it's what happens when you start chopping up the quote. Anyway,
Yeah.
Steve, that's our time.
All right.
Thanks again for another good episode of Hospitality Manifesto, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.